Let's go.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Bullhucker Podcast. I'm Moose Lundstrom.
I'm Josh Finley.
Of course you are. What's up, Josh Finley?
Nada, brother. How you doing?
We're in the Nebraska shit. I love it, bro.
I'm still faithful, man.
I like the fact that whenever you're on, I get a lot of comments on like the TikToks. It's like, go Big Red, and
That we stick together, all kinds of weather, baby.
That's like a cult now. It's like a cult, isn't it?
Well, just shy. We haven't had any Kool-Aid yet, but it's getting damn close.
So good.
We got a pretty awesome guest on today. If you look behind me on the wall, there's the logo that was painted right here, the original one. The artist who designed that and actually painted it, came down here, spray painted it before the studio was open, is here with us today. Randolph Torres, how are you?
I'm doing very good.
Yeah,
That's
you are.
It feels like ages ago since I painted that.
Yeah, I tell a funny story about you. You were down here, and the table wasn't here, and none of this was here. That was the first thing that really got painted down here.
Hell yeah.
And I was like, it's not really ventilated down here. He's like, that's for me. Yeah. This made me laugh about it. Is you go up and get a pizza before I leave. I go, cool, man, cool. And then halfway through, he starts eating the pizza. He gets all the munchies, man.
I love it.
Good for you. But you know what? Still turned out awesome.
That's all. Yeah,
That's right. I didn't pass out before I finished.
It's all good.
It's
all good. I'll be honest. I told him when I asked him to paint it for me, I said, whatever you want to do. It's up to your discretion. You make the Bullhucker like it's been tagged.
Nice.
And it showed me on his iPad. And at first I was like, ooh, I don't know if I like the color scheme. And then when it went up there, I was like, oh, that's it.
Yep.
That's what's up, man.
Oh, yeah.
Heck yeah.
It looks so good. So, yeah, that's now appeared in, 100-something episodes. So,
yeah. And I can definitely say that is the smallest piece of graffiti I've ever done.
Is it really?
Yeah, I mean, I'm used to like owning a mural business, right, in California and working out here. I'm used to doing large scale, sides of buildings, sides of trucks, trains, things like that. And so it is kind of weird. I thought about it the other day. I was sitting and I was like, man, that is hands down the smallest little piece of graffiti I've ever done.
Well, it's my favorite if it's any consolation. So
I love it.
Also, you might know him from the HGTV Hometown Makeover. He's the one that did all the murals in Fort Moore, most of them, a lot of them.
Yeah, I did 6 different projects for them. So I think that there was a couple other art projects that were done by other individuals. But
That's awesome.
So whether you know it or not, you have seen Randolph's work.
I see it daily.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And one last thing, you have opened your own shop, your own tattoo shop.
It is not my shop.
Oh, it's not your shop.
No.
Okay.
So JJ and Meg used to be the shop managers at Americana.
I'm
so
sorry.
when I first moved to Colorado, that was the first shop that I worked in. And they ended up, after about a year of me working there with them, decided to open their own joint. And husband and wife duo. They're both incredible. Jay's been tattooing for like 10 years.
Yeah.
Wife's an incredible piercer, nurse at the hospital in Fort Morgan.
Right.
And so, once they kind of left and opened their own thing and established it, I jumped ship and followed them over there. So
it's slouch either. I've seen your work. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, and it's so fun. I mean, getting to work with your best friend, somebody that, not only is a good friend like outside of work, but also somebody who, is on par with you as an artist, that you can look up to and feed off of and bounce ideas with. It's important, I think, as an artist to be in that environment where you're challenged.
What is the address of that place real quick before I forget
307 Main Street.
In Fort Morgan.
Yep, right across from Anthony's Barbershop.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Get yourself a cut and
that's
some
right.
ink, man.
Fresh tattoo, cut.
A cut and some smut.
Yeah, it's a good location, man. It really is, and they've done well with the shop. It's got a good atmosphere to it.
Right.
Yeah. So
nice. Do you have any tats?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Well, I shouldn't say it like this. Like I don't have that. I have 2. It was kind of funny. Just yesterday, it was a Wednesday. I ended up having to go to the hospital, and so they're throwing blood pressure cuffs on and doing IVs and stuff. Well, when I was 18, man, same with my earrings. My mom, she says you can't have earrings and no tattoos till you're 18, and that was her deal. Whatever. And
so she basically said, go out and get earrings and tattoos.
That's right.
Now.
Yes.
Like right now.
Yeah. So the day I turned 18, I went out and I got my ears pierced. And back then there was no piercing shops. I went to Claire's. I was the toughest dude in Claire's, right? Got my ears pierced, and then I went and got my tattoo. And the guy that did it, I went and put a pot leaf and a little smiley face on my arm. And he's like, "You sure you want that?" I was like, "Yeah, man. Yeah, do it." And he's like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Yeah." And then the other night in the hospital, they're throwing that on. He's like, "Nice." I was like, "Well,
I love that.
But yeah, that's a rough story on that deal anyway. But
it's all right. My first two are covered now too. Same kind of dumb decisions.
What was your first tattoo?
Oh boy, I got a cartoon banana tattooed on my shoulder. So I guess a little backstory behind it. One of my favorite all-time artists. He was an animator from Santa Barbara, California. He did like traditional animation where he would hand draw every image, photograph it with like a 35 millimeter film camera. So I mean, super hard to take film camera photos and develop them properly, as well as hand drawing all the scenes. So I mean, guy was an incredibly talented artist, but he drew like the stupidest bullshit. I mean, it was like these jacked up cartoons that like didn't look very good. They were always killing each other and doing dumb shit. But I was just obsessed with this one little skit he had with this little cartoon banana guy. And so, yeah, 17 years old, on a military base down in Texas. Guy had a tattoo machine in the dorm room, and he was like, $50 tattoos. And I was like, cool, put this banana on my arm. Yeah. Yep. I walked around with that dumb banana until I was in my mid-20s.
Heart surgeons, eye doctors, and tattoo artists. Don't skip. Pay the money. Pay the extra money.
Pay the money, yeah. And think about your ideas, man. Oh, man.
Yes.
I've told it numerous times on this podcast. I'll tell it for one last time. But when I don't have any tattoos. There's some I want to get, maybe, I don't know. I just never been really sold on one, except one I didn't get. But when I was in high school, nobody knew what I was, like racially. So my this Hawaiian thing showed up that everybody thought I was Hawaiian, and that spread like wildfire. So Punchy, the little Hawaiian punch guy.
Yeah,
I almost got that tattoo, and I thank Jesus every day that I pussed out about that one, because what's with the Hawaiian punch guy?
Right.
I think I'm Hawaiian. Isn't that pathetic enough?
Everybody thinks I'm Hawaiian.
Yeah. So
that's so good.
Good choice. Good choice.
You know what?
Solid choice.
Thank you, Jesus. There's been a lot of tattoos I wanted over the years. I'm thankfully I never got. So yeah,
that's right.
All right. Well, you ready to tell some stories, Randolph?
Yes. Yeah. Let's do it.
Nice.
Let's see. You want to read these off for us, Josh?
Yes, sir.
You got
Let's
nice writing. Well, you're an artist. You should have nice writing.
Oh my God. I just got my new contacts, so I can't hardly.
You want me to read them?
You better.
Yeah.
Anything up close, I'm screwed, my friend.
I have an eye doctor appointment on the 11th, which is funny because last time I went, he's like, "You need bifocals." I'm like, "No,
absolutely not."
I'm fighting the old man thing, but now, as I go, was there anything you need? I'm like, bifocals. She's like, "What's that, sir? Is your vision changed at all?" Maybe a little bit. Like what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
Just give me the fucking bifocals.
Yeah. Let's not make a big deal about it.
Let's keep it on the down low.
Yeah. Doctor's gonna hear it eventually. Okay.
That's right.
I'd rather just be ostracized for the hour I'm here, instead of the 2 weeks leading up to it. So, all right. We have falling off roof, broken hip, front flip flop, and held at gunpoint.
Held at gunpoint.
Josh, why don't you pick one of those bad boys out for me?
Well, I'm going to hear about that flip flop.
Front flip flop.
Front flip flop. All right, you got it. So, yeah, last time that I was on, I did a themed deal. So all my stories were related to outdoor adventures and getting caught with my pants down in nature. So decided to keep this one themed as well. For a little backstory on all of these, in my late teens to my early 20s, I was doing gymnastics and parkour. And for those that don't know what parkour is, it's also called free running. It's usually what you see in the movies, right? When guys are running, jumping rooftops, flipping, doing all kinds of crazy, running through the city. So a large portion of my later teen years and like most of my early 20s when I was still young and not breakable was filled with that. It was filled with a lot of, just action-packed stunts. And, I'd always dreamed of like being a stunt man or doing something cool with that, right, where I could take my skills and get on film and just, do some crazy acrobatics. And so all of these stories are going to relate to that. So front flip flop. Story takes place in Avila Beach, California. So for those that don't know, Avila Beach is Central California, right on the coast there, pretty much halfway between San Francisco and Los Angeles. It's where I was born and raised, grew up there for about 30 years before moving to Colorado. Nice. And it was like a local hotspot for me and my buddies. We'd all go down there and train. It was always nice because they had, cement walls and benches and all kinds of different obstacles for us to practice our tricks and moves on, and a lot of safety too, because going from like the pier to the sand, right, you can just huck crazy flips out there into the sand dunes and not worry about breaking your neck, right? So it was a huge training grounds for us. Me and, a large group of like 15 guys ran there for years as just like a regular Saturday get together. We'd all go down and train, and one of the days we were down there training, we'd been working together for 5 or 6 years at this point and had all gotten pretty good, and we had graduated, taking our flips from the sand up actually onto cement. So we're doing proper acrobatics and doing the typical street performer thing, right? We got a hat out there. People are walking by with a crowd and clapping and throwing money in the hat and, just making money for dinner and beer. But yeah, I'd been practicing this one move where, so what you call in parkour a precision, where it's like a precision jump, is where you would jump from one obstacle to another obstacle and land on it in a very precise fashion, right? So I was doing this trick where I'd set up like this. It was like a 14-foot jump. So I'm getting a running start, stepping off with my left foot on this one obstacle, landing out on another obstacle 14 feet away, and then from there, was going to punch myself up into a front flip, which puts me, at the peak of my rotation for the flip, puts me like 9 feet in the air over cement. And so essentially when you're doing that, you have to tuck your flip really fast so that you can initiate the rotation, but then you also open early because you have, 9 feet to fall. So you're opening that flip, facing the sky, and then having a nice controlled slow descent down to your feet. Right. Boom. Trick's done, right? Well, I'd kind of...
At what point do you shit a little bit?
I'm already like, I hit the wall. I didn't even make it over the wall. Like, wham!
Yeah. So I'd kind of set up for the trick. Parkour from like an outside perspective looks incredibly dangerous, which don't get me wrong, it is, right? There are injuries to be had. Things can go wrong. But you generally will work yourself kind of up to those bigger distances, bigger jumps, things like that. So it's a very controlled environment in the sense of how you scale your tricks. And so this was kind of like the pinnacle for me. Like, this is the biggest thing I'd ever done. I was like, I'm feeling good today. We've been training for a couple hours. I'm warmed up. Like, this is it. It's time for the big send. And so I did a couple practice run-ups where I just did the jumping portion, hit my feet, and got ready to do the flip. And I was like, all right, feels good. Here we go. Right. Time for the big send. And so I make this huge run-up, do my jump, land perfect, initiate the rotation, and just, I don't know what happened, but I just stalled out. I took my jump, got into my rotation, opened up, and I was facing the sky and not rotating anymore. And I was like, well, that's not good. And so
Houston, we have a problem.
Yes. So now I'm planked out in the air, perfectly parallel to the ground with my arms open. And now it's too late to where I can't reinitiate a rotation and land on my feet. So I just braced for the impact, and resorted to the old karate move, the old mat slap where you break your fall. And I was like, this is going to hurt, but here we go. So I take this 9-foot drop and come straight down on my back, my tailbone, shoulders, everything hits the cement, and I slap my hands out. And I just laid there for a couple minutes, just broken. I was like, I didn't want to move because I was like, I don't know if I broke my back. I don't know what happened. Like,
did nobody else see this happen?
Everybody saw it happen.
So they didn't come rushing to you? Like,
no. Everybody was just in shock.
Randolph's
There's
He's dead.
All my buddies are there.
We should go.
Yeah, they're all frozen. There's a line of people up on the pier watching us, because it's all cheers and claps and stuff until something like that happens. And then it's just silence.
Sure.
And so I picked myself back up, and we have a rule, both in parkour and something I learned as a kid skateboarding, and it's that, if you fall on a trick, right, and you hurt yourself, if you don't get right back up and try it again, to like re-solidify that, yes, I can do this, and make a successful attempt at it, then you're going to be frozen in fear forever on that obstacle, right? We used to do that all the time in skateboarding. If you fall, trying to trick down a set of stairs or down a rail, if you don't get right back up and try it again, you will never do that stair set. Because if you go home and sleep it off, you're going to be locked in fear the next time that you come back because your only memory is that fall, right? And so I slowly got myself up, realized I was like, nothing's broken, right? I can still move the joints, legs are good. And I was like, well, we got to do it again. So, I ran back up to the top and spent a couple minutes just getting my breath back in me and kind of staring at the jump and went for it, and everything went perfect on the second attempt, and I locked it in. Never did it again, but I did follow up that fall with a successful attempt, did the front flip, landed it, and then I ran straight out to the beach and was just screaming the whole way. I mean, hands up, like, I did it. Never did it again, but that was like one of the pinnacle peaks for me in terms of like the biggest stunt I did. So
have you ever seen anybody get seriously hurt doing that?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
like paralyzed hurt?
Not paralyzed hurt. No, we've had a lot of mostly broken fingers. Broken fingers is a huge one. Wrists, elbows. I've cracked both of my patellas, so I've got like hairline fractures on my patellas where it wasn't a complete fracture into pieces, but at least cracks. Both elbows are pretty jacked up. Both of my like hip bones, like off to the sides of the spine, where your like iliac crest of your hips comes back from rolling across cement, because generally, when you're taking those big impacts, right, whether it's coming off of rooftops or jumping between larger distances, you'll control that landing with a roll, right? If you guys have ever seen that in like YouTube parkour videos, you always see guys rolling, and it's just to take that impact off of your knees and, disperse that impact across a roll rather than just straight crunching your knees. So back's all jacked up. I've got lots of cracks and breaks.
Oh, life and arthritis is going to catch up to you, my friend.
It already feels great now. I haven't actively trained in probably like 7 years, and it's mainly just for that.
I'd like to you told the part about where you started on the sand, then you graduated to concrete. Because I look at stuff like that, I'm like, how do you know you have that talent? Like, at one point in time, you're like, I bet I could flip off this concrete brick and not break my ass over.
Bounce off of that one, over to this one, we're going to do a flip over that, and I'm going to land it and superhero.
Yeah. That's right.
I've always been a fat kid, so I don't parkour shit. I just climb down all weird and like poking with my foot to make sure there's ground there. Yeah, it's not, I ain't jumping on shit. So, or if I do, I roll no matter what. So, you?
Well, I used to I still snowboard, but I don't do nothing like I used to. I was very younger. I didn't learn until I was like 25. Really got into it, and by the time I was like 28 or whatever, I was doing a lot of stuff on my own. Like to tree ride a lot, and I went on just like you just said. This is what happened to me. I was right by the lift that I was used to at Eldora all the time, and there was this little spot, and it's basically just this pier that comes up, and so it's 4 sides, and me and my buddy had rode this a lot. Like I didn't when I first started, I just kind of come up one side and down the other. I never caught air off of it, and it's right under the lift for the park, Yeah. So everybody's riding up, and I'm feeling, we'd gone a couple times, and we'd made it to where you come up and you caught air and went to the other side and came down and did no problem. So here I am. I was up by myself, and I'm like, I'm doing it. And so I went up the first side, and it was like you said, everything went wrong. I was looking at the pile of snow, and I'm flat, and I was probably 6 feet off the ground, and I pancaked right on top, and the whole lift, everybody goes, oh, and like banging their poles on the ski lift and stuff, just making fun of me. And I kind of got up, and I'm like, I slid down, and I went, and I never rode that thing again. And I actually never did the park after that either. I'll free ride all day. But
I guess that proves your point now, doesn't it?
Yeah, you have to do it. You got to pick yourself up and do it.
I'm with you. I've been like, fuck this,
fuck that. And I was about 100 pounds lighter too, so it's not like I was going up this fat bastard on it. I was like, I was probably fairly chiseled.
Skid down this bad boy right here.
Yeah.
What do you think about that, brother?
That's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy.
It is
crazy. I can't believe you walked away and did it right back and boom.
It was. I think I was just riding the adrenaline, honestly.
Right. Most people, that story, I would have some serious doubts, but I've come to know Randolph, so it's actually, sadly enough, it checks out. That math kind of works. So.
Well, you got some vocabulary in there that I don't know, and it sounds legit, so I'm going to say okay.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
What's funny is I don't remember what your last Bullhucker was. Don't tell me. It's fine. I'll go back and look. But it's usually the Bullhuckers stick out to me. And I can't remember which one it was for you. So maybe he's got some voodoo shit happening to me. So
that's right.
All right, that was front flip flop. We have 2 more: falling off roof, broken hip, and held at gunpoint. Well, there's always one I want to hear the most. Obviously, we're listening to that one last. So instead, let's hear falling off roof, broken hip.
Okay. All right. So obviously, being a themed bit of stories, it is a parkour story once again. Located in that same area where I grew up, there's a town called San Luis Obispo. It's a huge town on the Central Coast, big college town. Cal Poly University's there, huge engineering school, and so that was another big training hotspot for us, right? Obviously, university campuses, the downtown city centers, they always have good stuff, good walls, good roofs, a lot of action. So another huge training spot for us, and same kind of thing as the front flip flop, honestly. Me and the boys were out for our regular Saturday training session, and usually we'll spend about an hour getting warmed up, and then after that we'll start to transition into doing, actual tricks, things that we're comfortable with, just to build up that confidence. And then towards the end of the training session, before you're too tired, is when we'll start kind of pushing the limit, right? Trying some new things we haven't done before. We know we're confident, we're warmed up, all right, now it's time to try some new stuff, build that skills up, and, go into the next week with riding that high, essentially, right? So towards the end of the day, we'd been doing this like rooftop section right there in downtown where there's multiple roofs that are kind of stacked up side by side with some pretty decent gaps, anywhere between like 8 to 12 feet jumps in between. And so, me and the boys had kind of done each of the roof gaps, single roof gaps, right? And then we were starting to figure out how to kind of chain them together. And, you know, when you're filming stuff, right, same thing with like a skate video, usually you'll do like one trick, and then you'll do the next trick, and then the next one. And once you're confident on all those tricks, you'll put it together in a line, and you'll get your video, right, of you hitting multiple obstacles throughout the video. So that's kind of where we were at this point in the story. You know, we had practiced all the different things that we kind of wanted to include in the video clip and get our little, like, you know, 15-second reel or whatever.
Sure.
And yeah, so at this point, it was my turn. I was like, okay, you know, I've practiced all these jumps individually, and I was going to do this transition where essentially, like, I run across the ground, climb up this wall, up onto the roof, make my transition across the roofs, hitting all the different jumps, you know, flipping a couple of them, jumping some of them just like regular jumps. And then at the very end, there's like a 10-foot roof drop where you go from the roof edge to like this concrete planter box and then down to the ground level. And so I had this really smooth looking trick. It's called, oh gosh, what's the name of this? It's like a sliding vault, essentially. So as you're coming up to, like, let's say the edge of a roof or whatever, you're putting your hands on the edge of the roof and kicking your legs underneath your arms to where now you're kind of sitting with your hands on the wall and your feet are in front of you, and you're using that positioning to kind of push yourself off the wall into this like Assassin's Creed drop to an object down below, and then jumping down and going from there, right? So end up doing this whole line. Everything goes really good. We're getting the filming clip done, and I get to that last little transition where I've got to do this slide off the wall, and I'm feeling hot, man. Everything went so well. You know, it's the last trick of the line. It's the end of a good day of training. Like, this is
cocky.
Yes, overconfident is a good one. Which is also dangerous, especially when you're tired, right? It's the last move on the last line of the day. Which, you know, as you know, snowboarding, right? I'm a big snowboarder as well. It's always the last run you get hurt on. You know, you've been riding all day, maybe drinking a little bit, you're feeling good, you know. Now it's like, oh, I'm just going to hit one more line, one more jump, right? And that's always the one you get hurt on. So in this case, I finish this line and I hit my vault and I'm just feeling hot, right? Hands are planted, go for my push off, and when I go for the push off, there was a bit of grime on like the metal like angle sheeting that's on the edge of the roof. Right hand slips, and when the right hand slips, my body turns and I'm once again perfectly sideways, and now I'm falling this 10-foot drop to the concrete planter box that I'm supposed to be landing on and then flipping off of. Well, when I make that slip and my body starts falling sideways, I end up landing on my right hip, like right on the top of that like little iliac crest, hard bone on the side, and it crunches right into the edge of that concrete planter box, sends me rolling over onto my head and shoulders, flop onto the ground. And that, in that case, I was like, okay, something's really messed up. And I didn't know how bad it was that, you know, at that time. I'm grabbing my hip and I'm in so much pain. I've got tears rolling down the face. You know, guys are all coming up to check on me. They're like, dude, are you okay? Like, that was a hard fall. And I was like, honestly, I don't know. I don't know what's wrong, but I was like, I know that I can't walk. And they were like, all right, dude, well, it's fine. Like, we'll just sit here against the wall, you know, have some water, have a snack. Like, you know, we'll just wait. And they were like, do you want us to call an ambulance? And I was like, I don't think it's at that point, but I was like, I know that something's not right in there. Right. And so ended up hanging out for about 15, 20 minutes, just playing it cool, you know, started getting to a point where I could get up and kind of walk, and everything was feeling fine. And
adrenaline, adrenaline's going.
It's pumping. Yeah. So anyways, at that point, you know, training session's done, right? We're all kind of just hanging out, bullshitting, just, you know, waiting to see if I can actually walk. And I was able to. I got up and, you know, was able to walk away from it, and everything was fine there. Nothing was like visibly messed up to where the joint wasn't working. And at that point, I didn't know that I'd broken my hip. You know, to me, it was just, it was a hard impact. Everything was fine. So went home, took a shower, went about my daily life, and actually didn't find out until a couple years later that I'd broken the hip. And this was for an unrelated injury. You know, I had no idea how severe this was. Went in for an unrelated injury for another leg injury I had doing parkour, and they put me on the x-ray machine, and I had filled out like your questionnaire, right? When you go to the doctor's office, they ask if you've had any previous surgeries or any other kind of broken bones or things like that, right? And so when I filled it out, I was like, yeah, no broken bones, this and that. Well, Doc comes back in with the x-ray results, and he's like, well, got good news for you. He was like, you know, the thing you're here for currently, you know, isn't broken. And I was like, well, that's good. He's like, it's just a really bad strain. He's like, you probably got a bone bruise, you know, everything's going to be fine. He was like, but I got a question for you. And I was like, okay, like, what is it? And he's like, well, on your questionnaire, you filled out that you've never broken a bone before. Right. And I was like, well, I haven't. nothing major, a couple little finger jams and stuff. Yeah. And he was like, well, I find that very interesting. He's like, look at this. So he puts the x-rays up on the wall, and he's like, you see these black lines in your hip? He was like, at some point, what you're telling me, because you said you've never broken a bone before, is that you fractured your entire hip girdle there, and you didn't know it. And I was like, okay. So apparently I have broken a bone before. Well, we did. But yeah, I mean, whether it was just riding that adrenaline or the fact that, that section of the hip doesn't actually have to do with like the movement of like the leg joint, sure. Right? I just thought it was a hard fall and, that I'd hurt myself pretty good, but I was able to get back to training in a couple weeks.
Right.
Had no idea that I completely fractured that hip. Yeah. And Doc couldn't believe it. He was like, you're telling me you didn't, go in for surgery. You didn't take any pain meds. Like, how the hell did you do that? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know, Doc. I don't know what to tell you.
It's wild, man.
Holy smokes.
Do you watch football at all?
Yeah.
Alex Singleton from the Broncos.
Okay.
He tore his meniscus during a game, like in the second quarter. Played the rest of the game. Didn't realize he had done it.
Yeah.
Until the end of the game. Like when I probably would have cooled down, then it,
sets in.
So sometimes I think just, you don't know. Yeah, it hurts, it hurts, but you didn't realize it was.
How bad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's lucky, man. It's lucky you didn't, blood clots and something else didn't show up, you know what I mean? Because that could happen very easily, yeah.
It's like one of the downsides of having a high pain tolerance. Sometimes you don't know just how jacked up you are.
Yeah, I don't have that problem at all. So
yeah, no, I'm pretty much. Yeah, not the same.
There's a reason.
I'm dead. I'm probably dead in 2 weeks after that, man.
Yeah. There's a reason there's no punchy tattoo on me. Okay,
that's right.
Pain tolerance is shit. So
good.
I got a question though. This is totally unrelated, but
yes.
There's no vanilla sex for you. I'm imagining like you just like. What are we doing tonight, honey? Missionary? No, we're gonna jump off that wall.
That's right.
I need you sideways. Yeah. We're gonna do a couple flips back to the bed, and we're gonna send that home.
I found some old plumbing. I want you to use that on me.
Holy crap.
Beat me with a pipe.
Yeah, some PVC pipe. Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious.
That's funny.
Man.
Or maybe super vanilla. You never know. Like
that's right.
You can't do that. You jumped off a 10-foot roof. There is no vanilla. Like, oh no, yeah.
To get your stuff going. That's hilarious.
That's so good.
That's wild. That's what he thought of. That's what he took from that story.
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking from the last two stories, man. They're like we're jumping, rolling, diving. Like you can't get. There's no excitement in vanilla, man. You're like, I don't know what it takes, but there's got to be. Hats off to you, sir.
That's right. Yeah, you got to have that adrenaline.
You meet that girl, and you're talking about all the weird stuff you like, and he's like, "Do you know how to drive a forklift?" She's like, "What?"
Yeah. If you're not forklift certified.
Yeah. This last trick ain't gonna work. I'm sorry.
My God.
I'm gonna need it. So,
oh man,
that's hilarious.
Put the forks up. So, all right. What'd you think, bud?
That's crazy, man.
That's crazy. But once again, I've heard it happen before. People mess themselves up and they don't know about it until later on in life. The doctor sees it on an x-ray.
Well, did you find out that was the name, this Iliad's crest? Did you find out that was the name for it when you found out it was broken, or did you just know that?
Actually, the funny thing is I know a lot of those bone names just from being an artist, like just taking anatomy classes and stuff for drawing people and portraits and things like that. But yeah, so that's like my one, I get to be smart on camera because I know the name of bones.
I thought it was like one of those Roadhouse deals where you just have your medical records with you all the time.
Exactly. That's what I'm kidding.
I feel like I have to now. Yeah. I mean, between the skateboarding industries and snowboarding and, parkour and martial arts. I mean, gosh, man.
What year is the parkour? When's this happening? About what year?
So from the time I was like 14 until I was probably 24.
So what year is that? I mean,
oh gosh. So that would have been like early 2000s to probably like 2013.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Because I heard about parkour. It's been a while now, but
yeah, it really reached its peak, I would say, right around that like 2007 to like 2010 range. And obviously, it is still an active sport. Most people relate it, like when they think of parkour or free running, they relate it to that show American Ninja Warrior, right? Like that's pretty similar to the kind of moves that we're doing. And a lot of like the technical names of certain moves come out in shows like that. I think where it got a lot of like public notoriety was Sebastian Foucan, who's an incredible parkour athlete, was in that 007 film. I think it was Casino Royale. They have that opening scene where the dude's like running and jumping through the construction site and like jumping on the crane and jumping back to the building. And
I've never seen it.
Oh, it was an incredible scene. But that was, I think, one of the first like, AAA, like, motion pictures that had like a legitimate parkour athlete doing legitimate moves, on screen. And since then, there's obviously been a lot. But
I know in the Punisher Warzone, there's a point where they have the Jamaicans, the assassins, they're doing it.
Yeah.
Throughout the city, man, and maybe it was computer animated. I don't know, but it was pretty wild to watch, man.
Yeah.
So I worked at the dryer. I started there in 2009 to 2011. That's why I asked.
Yep.
And the younger guys were totally into this parkour shit, and they had videos, and they were like, they were into it, man. But, do you ever watch American Ninja Warrior?
Oh, dude, I love it. I love it.
You know what I hate
incredible.
about it?
Yep.
It makes me feel like shit about myself. That's
Dude, my stepson, his daddy lives in Seattle, and he spent a lot of time there. He's living with us now, and his dad put him on ADHD medicine, and all this stuff, and we got him out to the farm, and we watch it all the time, when it's on, whatever. We'll watch different episodes, reruns, whatever. And he built himself his own little course outside at the farm.
Love it.
I mean, he's flying off the chicken coop. He's rolling off the shed. He's, over the hay bales. I'm like, hey, man, and no need for none of that medicine. All that medicine's gone, man. He's
get
like,
that energy out.
just burn the energy. He's a boy. He's a 15-year-old boy. He wants to run. He wants to play. Like, let him do it.
And at the end of the day, I mean, despite the potential for injuries, right? Like, this sport is such an incredible one, especially one for like younger boys in terms of like building, full body fitness. Like I always say, in terms of, full body athletics, right? There are no better sports than gymnastics or wrestling. I mean, they're incredible, whether it's the strength, the endurance, your stamina, flexibility. I mean, both of those sports require a lot of, full body awareness. And I think, me wrestling in high school as well as doing some gymnastics really helped me, be more successful at doing parkour and probably avoided a lot more serious injuries than I would have, gotten had I not had that background in, athleticism.
Yeah. That's it blows my mind. 'Cause I also watch it. Netflix had a couple. It was the college ones where the colleges were going against each other. Man.
Awesome.
And you can't stop watching that shit.
Yeah,
no.
It's
Once
intense.
you start watching it, you just it's.
Well, and to see the people, like, just people that you wouldn't think, they go out there and you're like, nah, he's going to get smoked. No, they do great. And other people, like, I can't remember the one guy. He used to always wear a mask. He doesn't do it anymore. But, he had done all this crazy stuff, and then he just got jinxed. And it was like every year he'd get to the final round and he'd fall out like the first, the first two obstacles or whatever. But it's like every year they come out with something crazier than the year before, and you're like, there's no way.
Right.
My arms would be blown, my legs would be blown, and these guys just push on, man. In seconds, 39 seconds, 50 seconds.
Oh, it's so fast. So fast.
I'm always amazed at some of the women who do it.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them are literally 4'10".
Yeah, and it's so much upper body strength, too, which is typically something that, most women claim that they would, struggle with.
Right.
And that it's, I mean, it's such an incredible sport. I remember watching, like, the original Ninja Warriors when it was still all over in Japan, like Mount Midoriyama and stuff like that, before they brought it to the American Ninja Warrior side.
Right.
And now it's obviously, like, an international organization. Right. But just to see, like, how the obstacles have grown over the years, too. I mean, because in the beginning, it was very simple, like the spider cling and stuff like that, and
warped wall,
and
8 feet.
Yeah, now they got these like spinning objects that you're holding on to, and hanging from chains and stuff.
But once again, the type of athlete it takes to do that is phenomenal, man.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
I'd be the other guys. I don't know if you remember that show that was on that was from Japan, but they dubbed it over, and it was just a bunch of guys getting their ass kicked all the time. That would be me.
Was it the MX? Something like that? MXC.
Yes. Did you see that?
No. It's so good.
It's
you
so
have to watch
funny.
it.
They dubbed it over, and it's I guess it's a real show.
It is.
But they've dubbed it over in English, and they give these guys random names, and they go through, like, there's one where you run up this deal, and they throw these huge boulders down at you, and like you have to avoid them, and he got crushed, and like that'd be me. That's the guy. You have to check it out.
Yeah, MXC is hilarious.
I bet if you take some like NFL players though, like world class athletes, they would struggle with some of that shit.
Guaranteed.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Because it is such a niche type of strength, right? It'd be no different than trying to take a bodybuilder, right, and throw him into like a calisthenics gym and tell him to go do 10 muscle ups. It's like this dude can deadlift 700 pounds, but he can't do a single muscle up just because it's a specific skill that requires a different kind of strength, right? It's not all just raw power, and strength and lifting weights. There's something to be said about being able to, control and manipulate just your own body weight, right? That's why, like, you look at gymnasts and, like, they're not usually big guys, they're very lean, but the strength that they have is incredible. It's like, that guy's not going to go squat 1,000 pounds, but I guarantee you he's stronger than probably 98% of the population.
And if forever fun, you'll make fun of me for saying this out loud, like the dancing competitions. Do you ever watch some of the dancing competitions?
Oh, yeah. Dancers are strong.
I mean, some of the stuff they do, especially guys that are now into break dancing, which is hilarious. They love break dancing, from the 80s.
Yeah, I love it.
Pick your own shit, guys. For once generation, get your own shit.
It's so good.
But I'm amazed at some of the shit they can do. And I mean, literally, they have themselves, their complete body weight on one hand, bouncing. I'm like, no, man.
Yeah.
No. I'm always impressed by those, like the... Do you ever watch them, like, when they have the big contests, like I can't remember the name of the organization. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible, man.
Oh, like picking up girls and twirling them around, or, throwing them through your legs and up over the shoulder. And all
or when they do, like, the stuff I'm talking about in unison with everybody else.
Yeah. Yes.
It's
just tight, and it's strong, and it's fast. It's so incredible to watch.
Yeah, it is.
And I think that's, like, something that's so highly underrated when it comes to, like, people that are in, like, peak physical conditioning. Most people look at dancing and they're like, oh, it's kind of gay. Like, I don't want to be a dancer, right? But, like, when you see, somebody who's trained their whole life and is very, good and, practiced in that skill, damn strong.
Yeah.
And very difficult.
Yeah. Pretty cool to watch, though, man. That's the kind of stuff I can just watch all day long. You go down a rabbit hole for sure. I didn't know that we just went off on a little tangent there. What did you think about that? Did you already tell me?
No, I did. I thought it was crazy. Yeah. I totally. So far, I don't have a clear cut winner.
I don't either. This is what he did this last time.
I wish we had a couple hours, man. I've got so many fun stories of just random injuries and not only injuries but also really cool things that I've got the opportunity to do.
There'll be other.
I wish I could have a video screen up here so I could do like a play-by-play.
Yeah, you know what?
Look at how cool I used to be.
Yeah.
This is when I went flat, and that's where I laid for a little while.
That's right.
I nailed it the next one, though.
One of these days there might be a podcast opportunity with a TV in here.
Yeah, we need Jamie to pull it up.
That's what I need. I need a Jamie.
I need a Jamie.
That's hilarious.
Oh, could you imagine?
We could work on that.
That's right.
Some kid we pay in Coors Light. That's what it is.
We'll just put a window, like a picture of a guy, like Home Alone, where he's moving back and forth. This is Jamie, but it's really just Google. Help me out here.
That's right.
All right.
That's fun.
2 great stories down. You didn't disappoint so far, my man. Falling off roof, broken hip, front flip flop. And last but not least, we have held at gunpoint.
Held at gunpoint. So that's a fun one. Okay, so held at gunpoint, once again, Central Coast of California, my peak years of training parkour. This specific story was in Pismo Beach, California, so just south of Avila Beach, but still one of the main like tourist hotspots. Fun fact for those that don't know, Pismo Beach is actually a really famous, beach area with the pier and stuff.
Really?
It was in Looney Tunes.
Yeah, no, I thought it was in Florida though.
No,
it's in California.
Yeah, Pismo Beach.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so there's actually a scene in one of the old like Looney Tunes episodes where Bugs Bunny's like tunneling his way through the desert and like pops up and there's like one of those crossroads signs, that point to different stuff, and one's like Hollywood and the other one says Pismo Beach.
I took a wrong turn at Pismo Beach is the actual the quote in Looney Tunes. Yeah.
Yep, there you go.
That's funny.
Yep. So Pismo Beach was that was an incredible place to grow up, man. It's got some of the only rideable like OHV dunes in the state. And
what's that?
Like off-road vehicle.
Oh
yeah,
like side by side. Or
yeah, exactly. So that town was really fun to grow up in, big tourist hotspot, and that was kind of where like me and most of my friends like parkour journey really started, because they had the biggest dunes, they had the nice pier, and there was always people around, right? So that's where we'd go and do our big shows and
hot dog around.
Yeah, exactly. Get the ego pumped up a little bit with crowds clapping for you and stuff. Right. But this story took place. I was probably 19 or 20. I was like right kind of at like the peak of taking my parkour more into the public space of like, I'm kind of confident, ready to get out there and do some serious stuff. Well, this night I decided to go out and just do some solo training, and I was training at night, but I knew like, because downtown Pismo is such like a tourist hotspot, right? Training rooftops and stuff during the day just doesn't work, right? Okay. The moment somebody sees some dude running across a roof and jumping gaps, like immediate call to the police, right?
Right, sure.
So generally during the day, we would just be training stuff on the pier or the obstacles kind of in like the city centers. But if you wanted to get any rooftop action in, it had to be at night, which, adds its own level of danger because you're jumping roof gaps in the dark and stuff like that. And for the most part, I mean, I'd always had good luck with it. It was my favorite time to go train. It's cool out. You get a nice crisp like ocean breeze, and so it was fun to go out training at night and just kind of play around. You feel like a ninja dressed in black. Scaling rooftops. And, it gives you like that old like Assassin's Creed video game vibe. Where it's like I'm the ninja in the dark and nobody knows I'm here, doing all this cool stuff. So, anyways, I was out training for the night and I'd had a pretty good session and, had done some fun stuff and kind of just, it's so fun getting to see, the world that you exist in, right? Like as a local in an area, whether it was here in Brush or Fort Morgan, like anywhere you live, most people only get to see like the environment that they live in from like street level, right? In your car, walking down the sidewalk. Sure. Most people never get to experience, what a city looks like from the top of the skyline, and so getting those different perspectives was always such a fun way to spend your nights, just doing something, like strong odds, nobody's ever done this before, or nobody's been here or seen this angle, of the city. Sure. So, yeah, I was having a good night, kind of riding that high, just playing around in my own world. And I had my headphones in like I usually do when I'm out running solo, because I'm not listening for traffic or anything. I'm up on these roofs and I'm just jamming, right, in my own world. And I start running these rooftops and end up climbing down, and it was kind of towards the tail end of the session, and I was like, all right, like I think I'm going to call it for the night. I feel pretty good, got a good little workout in. And so I'm walking down the sidewalk heading back to my house, and all of a sudden I see the flashing lights and I'm like, what the heck's going on there? And this cop comes flying by, and then he hits the stoplight and does a U-turn, and I'm like, oh shit, I think he might be coming for me. So I started running, and I was like, I've been training my whole life for this. Like, this is what parkour is for, right? Shit, like, I'm used to running, climbing, jumping, scaling obstacles. I was like, I'm gonna get away from this fool. Super easy. So I turned back this corner and start running down this alley. Sure as shit, he turns into that alley and he's hauling ass down after me. Well, I run down this alley towards this pool hall where, what's the name of the place? It's like an old billiard hall. It has a backdoor entrance in this alley, and I'd gone there and shot pool plenty, so I knew this alley pretty good. Well, I start hauling ass down, and I turn this corner, and it's like an old brick building, like that industrial style where you have like the steel I-beams that kind of run like the framework of the outside of the brick. Okay. Well, I run, and I turn this corner and immediately duck into one of those little sections against the brick in between two I-beams, and I'm just like ninja post, like frozen there. And I see this cop, he flies right by me. I'm like, you fool, got your ass, right? Yeah. And so he flies by me, and I duck back out of that little section and go running back up the alley, trying to do a little, turnaround on him. Well, he does a 180. And as I'm getting down to the end of the alley, about to turn back onto the main street, I hear, freeze. And I'm like, oh, shit. So my hands go up. And he was like, walk backward to the sound of my voice, typical like cop show stuff. And I'm like, oh, fuck. And at this point, right, because I'm running out at night. So I'm like, I've got a black mask on. I've got a hood on, dressed head to toe in black with like my little backpack on. And I'm like, oh, fucking hell. So I'm walking back, and I'm going to take my bag off. He's like, don't reach for anything. And I'm like, oh, shit, man, fucking hell. I'm like, dude, I'm not doing anything. Like, I'm not breaking into anywhere. I was like, I'm just out here exercising. He doesn't understand. I mean, this is early on in like the parkour days. Nobody knows what the hell I'm doing. They just know somebody saw some dude in all black, masked up, running around on rooftops. Like,
I would have called the cops on you.
100%. Yeah. 100%. I would. Me as an older guy now, I would have called the cops on me. Right?
Like, son of a bitch doing.
Yeah. So
get off my roof.
Yeah. So I get back to this dude. And, he's like, get down on your knees. So I'm down on my knees. He rips my backpack off, grabs my hands, handcuffs me. He picks me up and slams me on the hood of his car. And he's giving me like the old dad lecture. And he's like, you stupid motherfucker. Like, I was going to shoot you. And so, me being like a young buck, my adrenaline's all pumping. I clap back at him and I'm like, you're a dumb motherfucker. I was like, why would you shoot me? It's like, I didn't do anything. Right. You don't know what I'm out here doing. Like, why would your immediate response be, I'm going to fucking shoot you?
You don't know me.
Yeah. And I was like, you're an idiot. I was like, that would have been a lawsuit on your hands. I was like, you would have had a dead kid on the street who didn't commit any crimes, who has no criminal record. Right. I was like, you're the fool. And he was like, you don't talk to me like that. So anyways, we had this whole banter back and forth. Ends up running my name. Nothing comes back, of course. I was like, clean as a whistle, dude. Leave me alone. And he's like, what were you doing? And I was like, it's a sport. Now I got to go into the whole spiel of like, this is the thing that we do. It's just a way of working out. Like, nothing nefarious is going on. I'm not breaking the law. Like, yeah, I'm kind of trespassing, right? I'm not supposed to be on people's roofs, but doesn't warrant you fucking shooting me down in the street, you know? And so we end up, having our little conversation. He was like, next time you do this, he was like, well, first off, don't. But also, like, why are you dressed like this? And I'm like, dude, I feel like a fucking ninja, man. It's just like, I'm a young kid out here feeling cool, dressed as a ninja. Like, I'm having fun, I'm just living my childhood. And he was like, all right. He was like, well, be smart about it next time. Like, he was actually pretty cool towards the end of it all.
That's cool.
But yeah, after he, uncuffed me and stuff like that, I had my backpack laying over there, and he was like, wait until I leave. He's like, then you can go collect your things and go about your life, right? And that was it. But, it was like the closest I ever had. First time I ever had a gun actually pointed at me.
Sure.
And had somebody tell me, like, they were about to shoot me, and I was like, man, dude, I can shit my shorts. Yeah.
What year is this, you think, around?
So I would have just been out of high school, so probably like 2011, 2012, something like that. A couple years out of high school.
That's pretty wild, man.
Yeah. I was so mad at him too. It was like the audacity.
But I wonder if it's a big thing now, like to where they would even understand it now.
Probably not.
Do you think they've seen enough?
Probably not.
No. You see, just like that. Like, you see a guy running around. Like, where's he going? What's he doing?
Right?
What's he doing? Like, they're gonna. I mean, hell, they'll get you for jaywalking right now. So
that's true.
It's true.
No messing around.
Start wearing a safety vest, just
Jesus, do it in a safety vest and a hard hat. You'll be fine. Nobody will think you put all that ninja shit on. They're like, oh, he's stealing something.
That's right. Yeah, no, it looked very, very suspicious. Yeah.
That's funny. I had a buddy who used to run from the cops just for the fuck of it. You know what I mean? Don't he? Yeah. What's up, Tom? And that was like he thought it was funny. If he saw a cop, he'd just start taking off running. Well, what do you think they're going to do?
They're going to chase.
I never understood it, man. I'm like, right. I would just walk. I don't know that guy, but some people just like that shit. So what do you think about that?
I don't have a clear-cut winner.
You don't?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I mean, I thought maybe I was going to get something on that, but I'm going to have to completely throw a dart on the wall on this thing.
I think after listening to all three, I think I caught something. So we'll see.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I'm curious.
Well, I also caught something. This is my.
All three seem legit to me, man.
You gotta get like this, bro. You listen to it, okay? My spider sense went off. So,
well, Sherlock Holmes, I'd love to hear it.
All right.
Oh man.
Well, before we guess, Randolph, we rock paper scissors to see which one of us has to guess first. How do you rock paper scissors?
I'm more of just like a rock paper scissors. And I throw on that third one.
Okay.
I don't
He's
do
our
no
kind of guy.
Yeah, I don't
I
do
knew
no,
I liked it.
Actually, you're the Rochambeau guy.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We're like, don't throw another thing into this thing, okay? He's like Rochambeau. We have a hard enough time with the 5-pump, 4-pump, 3-pump shit. So we're doing three. Ready?
Oh, man.
All right. We got three great stories. Falling off roof, broken hip, front flip-flop, and held at gunpoint. Now, I think the falling off the roof, broken hip is a true story. Not a lot of detail, but I buy that one. Front flip-flop originally is one I had thought was it. For some reason, not a lot of detail, but thinking of you falling down in the Jesus pose and then trying to stick that pose is, I don't know, held at gunpoint. I'm picking held at gunpoint because you smiled the whole time like you were almost nervous to tell this story. You were very giggly at times at this story. Now, maybe it was because you were having an interaction with a cop because of what you were doing, but you were almost giddy when you told me that story. So I'm taking held at gunpoint. What do you think, Josh?
Well, I'm going to go backwards on you. So the held at gunpoint, I can just see it. I mean, just like you said, if you saw it today, I get, somebody's running in my backyard, I'm in the middle of the country, I'm calling the cops,
Right.
Or you're getting shot.
Or shooting them myself.
Or shooting them myself. Yeah, it could happen one of two ways there.
Yeah.
So that one I kind of feel like is a real deal. The front flip-flop, I 100% believe, I might be wrong on that, but doing the, like when I said about the snowboarding thing, that's one point that I can relate right away because that was one, I quit that. I was like, I'm not doing it anymore. And he's like, and I've seen enough videos where these guys ride rails, they get the shit kicked out of them. I mean, and they get right back up and they do it again. And you're like, they're bleeding, they're kicking teeth out and that's just what they do. So I feel like that one is real. I'm going to say, and like I said, I think all three stories have the possibility of being true, but I'm going to pick falling off the roof, broken hip as mine, just because broken hip, man. Like that's an injury that, and there's some names that like I went through anatomy in high school, and there was a lot of bones, and I don't remember that crest thing, whatever. That seems pretty specific. And I work in assisted living, and literally like if somebody falls and breaks their hip, that's a life-ending injury most of the time for most people. So that's the only reason I'm picking that there's just no way there that you just walked away from that and did it. And if you did, goddamn, hats off to you, my friend. But that is the one I'm picking, and that's the only reason I'm picking it.
I gotta be honest, I wish you'd went first, because that's some good reasoning right there, man.
Yeah,
so
that's the real Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, that's it. I'm his bitch ass Watson.
You're like, he was smiling a lot.
I'm his Walmart Watson. That's what it was. Kmart, or however you say it. So.
Timu Watson.
That's what is Timu worse? I don't even know.
Timu's way worse.
Okay, I don't.
Timu's like Alibaba, like online, where you buy like just the cheap junk.
That's Wish. You're talking about Wish.
It's like Wish, yeah.
Okay,
same kind of thing.
Okay,
Timu's like Wish.
All right. I don't have a Temu account, so Amazon's bad enough.
My daughter does all the time.
Yeah. All right. Before you flip that over, I want to say, hey, thank you to the Brush Emporium for letting us have a place down here to have a podcast studio. Thank you for supporting this. Thank you for everything you do for it. They've been awesome about everything. And then we get this cool little studio down here to hang out. It's very cool.
And the food kicks
and they've
ass.
got good pizza.
Yeah. Are you taking wings home?
I hope I'm going to make it. I didn't get the order in ahead of time, so we'll see.
We might get you out in time. And the food is great. Yeah, you ate here. You always eat here when you come, actually. So
I had breadsticks right before this.
That's right. That's right. And they have everything down here. 210 Clayton Street. Please support these guys, because they support this podcast. And they're local families who have a business, so you should also support it because of that. Because if you don't support local business, it goes away.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
so true.
Like they said, the food down here is great. They have a great seating area upstairs. If you want to have an old school family night, bring the kids down here. They have board games up there. All the old board games against the wall, man. Some Battleship, some Monopoly. You know what I mean? Kick your kids' ass. It's something you're good at. So, but please make sure you support them. 210 Clayton Street, the Brush Emporium and Pizza Emporium here in Brush, Colorado. Now, one more thing. If you like what you see on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, there's a little red dot. That's our subscribe button. Click that, man. It's a small click for you.
Big click for us.
Man, huge click for us, man. We really appreciate the support and the following, man. And we've had a lot of people that support this podcast, so I've been very blessed. So having said all that, you're going to go with the broken hip, and I'm going to go with held at gunpoint.
Yep.
So I said, yep. So, Randolph, let's see your board.
He got it.
Damn it. Thank you, Jesus. I finally win one.
What's not true about that?
So the breaking the hip part.
Okay.
So I did actually take that fall off the roof. I did fall to 10 feet to the concrete planter. Thought I had broken my hip, but
no dice, huh?
Nope. I'm tougher than that.
You're a little more bendable.
Yeah. Didn't break it at all.
Didn't break it at all.
Oh my God!
No, just took the hit.
Wow.
But then again, when he started saying that stuff, I was like, "Shit! I bet that's right. I bet he's right. I bet I picked it wrong." So,
dude, I'm thinking, man. Oh my God! I can only imagine the pain of a broken hip.
I mean, the fall was enough pain.
Right,
even without the broken hip. Had I broke it, it'd be an ambulance ride for sure.
Yeah, held at gunpoint.
That is 100% true.
True story.
Yeah, 100% true.
Man. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was a young cop too. For a little more context on it, he was a younger cat. I think he was probably only a couple years older than I was. As a 19 or 20-year-old out running these rooftops. He was in his 23, 24, mid-20s, and I think still just kind of green on the job and got scared. Right, somebody's running from me. Maybe it's the first time he's chased somebody. But gun came out, held at gunpoint. Called me a fucking idiot, told me he was going to shoot me. Like he was this close to shooting me.
Yeah.
And so, we did have that whole interaction.
Ultimately you complied, right? So,
100%.
So, but you know what? That's, as I've said so many times on this podcast, how many times you almost died? You don't even know.
So many. So many. Yeah.
Even people who take it pretty carefully, like someone like me, I'm pretty careful with everything. I mean, still, many times I shouldn't,
anytime.
Be walking the earth. So let's see. Front flip flop. True story.
Yeah, 100% true. Yeah.
That's crazy.
That was another hard fall. I've had. with parkour, man, I feel very lucky to have had the level and frequency of falls that I've had over the years and had, little in the way of broken bones.
Right.
The only thing I've ever majorly broken with consistency was toes and fingers.
Right.
Other than that, I've never broken any major joints, never broken any, mid breaks on arms or legs, anything like that.
Right.
Lots of sprained ankles, a lot of busted knees, just from impacts and stuff. But yeah, I've been very lucky to escape mostly unscathed.
You're kind of an adrenaline junkie, aren't you?
Oh, yeah.
You think?
I say that because one thing I haven't brought up yet, maybe I did bring it up, I don't remember. He's also a volunteer firefighter
in
Fort Morgan.
Yep.
That's very cool, man.
That's way cool.
How long have you done that for?
Going in, be hitting my second year here. So
yeah. Any real action there?
Yeah. I love the job, honestly, man. The funny thing, people always ask me, they're like, why firefighter? And it's like, I have to explain to them, I was never that kid, driving fire trucks around like, I dream of being a firefighter. It was never something that I really thought I was going to do with my life.
Right.
I'd always wanted to be an artist, and that's a dream that I've now, realized and accomplished in life. And so childhood dreams checked off the list, and, I'm always just kind of looking for that next thing and, how else I can get that adrenaline rush. But yeah, it's a blast, man. Never figured I'd become a firefighter, never figured it'd be something that I would love. And yeah, just in the short period of time that I've done it, got to see a lot of really cool things, help a lot of people.
Right.
And yeah, the action side of things is just so fun.
We've had a few firefighters on the show, and I got to be honest, some of the stories that came out of it, man, some were very heartbreaking. Some were backbreakers, but some of them were like, wow. Jorgensen,
Jorgie.
He had a crazy story, but it wasn't one of his 3 stories. The episode ran a bit short, so he said, you have another story you might have made the cut.
Yeah.
He tells a story about this bad wreck that happened. It was a mother and a child. Rolled it. They all showed up. She's in shock. She doesn't know what's going on. Are you by yourself? Yes. You have a child with you? No. She kept saying no. She'd forgotten the baby was with her. He had saw the baby seat in the back, and he's talking about how they started looking and they found the baby, airlifted it, and he still gets invitations to that stuff for that child.
I love that
child's life. I mean, he told that story, and I'm like, why wasn't that one of the 3? Yeah. His stories were great. You know what I mean? But I was like, man, that's a story I'd tell everybody. What a great story.
Yeah.
That kid may never know how lucky he is that because he decided to go that extra mile and not just listen to mom being like, well, she said there's no baby here, but she was in shock. She didn't know what's going on. She was out of her mind. You know what I mean? So,
smokes.
Yeah, and that's why we always check too, because we run into the same thing with structure fires, right? A lot of times people are frantic, they're running out of the house trying to evacuate, and they might not realize, like, when they're looking around the yard, they think the whole family's here. It's like they don't realize, the 7-year-old's still upstairs in the bedroom sleeping.
Yeah.
And so you always check.
Yeah. Crazy stuff, man. Crazy stuff. And also, you were doing the cop thing for a while. You were doing
No, so I had thought about doing it. I did the Citizen Police Academy, which is just kind of like a run through of what the cops and stuff here in town do. And
I saw the movie back in the 80s, the Police Academy.
It's so funny. I love that. That's a classic. But no, I was talking for a while there with the chief of PD for Morgan, and every time I bump into him, he still always tries to get me to join, and I'm like, I just don't know if I can do it.
Really?
The sad thing is that, that's a tough job in its own way, right? Just like firefighting, you're exposed to a lot of hardships, you're exposed to a lot of trauma, and unfortunately you see people on their worst days, right?
Oh, you never see them in their good moments.
No, and so whether it's a car accident or a shooting or
some asshole kid running across
their roofs, you always see people on their worst days, and not to take a jab at the cops, guys, but
no.
At least when being a firefighter, when people see you and it's their worst day, they're excited that you're there. Usually, if somebody's seeing a cop and they're already having a bad day, they're like, screw you, I hate you, I'm gonna spit on you, defund the police, you run into all of that, and it's like, it's already enough mental stress and trauma having to do a job that exposes you to that much physical trauma, but then to also get no love and support for it, that's very hard.
It's got to be really hard. I mean, I've always said in bigger cities, I think the biggest problems with their police is the fact they throw them in these horrible situations every day. And then they wonder why they become jaded. They're human beings. So it's being on the city council of Brush, you don't deal with the police a lot. You feel for them, you know what I mean? You really do.
And my hat's off to them, too. I mean, I have such a high level of respect for what they do because of that reason, right? It's like they don't necessarily have the time to process their trauma even sometimes because they go on a horrific call and then they wrap it up and then another call comes out, and so you're constantly just getting pushed to that red line limit of what your body and mind can take. And then you have a, community, which luckily here, in rural Colorado, there is a lot of support for law enforcement, but in major cities or even amongst, certain demographics and communities that don't respect the police as much, if you're a drug addict, you probably hate the cops, because they're always looking for you, And so it's like to do such a hard job and have it feel so thankless.
And the double standard they have to deal with constantly. everybody wants the cops to do their job. Everybody wants the cops to arrest a bad guy. But when they catch you doing something, all of a sudden it's like,
screw you.
Can't you go get a drug dealer or whatever? Someone's selling crack and selling ass. I just was speeding, it's... Yeah, they can't have it both ways, man. No. They do their job or they don't. So,
well, and just like you said, you're riding that line 100% of the time, and then you got to go home and play with the kids, and you're trying to got to figure out how to switch that gear and be like, I was, and then you're talking about a guy who walks up to a car, and my wife, she was a SWAT officer in Alaska for a while. She was in the military for a long time, but she told me one time, and she goes, do you realize when a police officer walks up to a vehicle, he touches 2 fingers on the back of the car every time?
Yep.
And I said, what are you talking about? She goes, yeah, every time. They'll pull up to a car, traffic stop, doesn't matter what it is, they put 2 fingers on the back side of the car, because if they're, if something happens, his fingerprints are on that car. And that's something that runs through your head every single day of your life. Like, this is, I'm protecting myself by doing this, this is, and it's hard. Hats off, man. Hats off to those guys.
It is one of those things where it's like you never know what you're walking up to, right?
Oh, no, whenever they pull me over, both hands on the steering wheel.
Oh, yes, sir. No, sir. So, lights on.
Yes.
No quick reaching.
Watch what jokes you tell.
Yeah, exactly.
One last thing, too. As we said, you work at a tattoo parlor in town?
Yes. Yep.
What's the address there one more time?
That's 307 Main Street. It's Bad Medicine Inkporium.
You do a lot of your own artwork, too.
Like everything I do is custom. Yeah, so generally, like, unless somebody specifically comes in with, like, a drawing their kid did or a drawing that their cousin who passed away did, and they say specifically, I want this. Like, no alterations, no changes. Unless it's specifically that case, everything I do is custom. So generally, I will have people come to me, whatever you want, right? Like, give me 5 ideas, give me 40 ideas. I don't care. Just give me everything that you could possibly dream of having in this piece. And with that information, I can then, whittle it down and kind of pull out the key pieces and what's going to, be most important to create a very, like, compelling design.
That's awesome.
So, I always try to give people, something that it may be similar to something they've seen online, but it's not the exact piece, trying to give them a little bit of custom love in there and, add my own twist, their own twist, and make sure that they get something they're happy with.
Is there anything you stay away from tattooing?
Significant other names.
Okay.
Yeah. Those always tend to be a bad omen
choice.
So,
or that's return customers, man. I mean,
Well, and there is a joke in the industry about that, right? It's like it's a guaranteed cover up at some point. So, it's job security.
Yeah,
I guess maybe kids. Does that count?
Well,
like if they get kids' names?
Oh no, I'll get like kids' names, but not like your husband and wife, boyfriend, girlfriend. You always get the guys that come in and they're like, yeah, I want to get my old lady's name tattooed. And it's like, okay, cool. Like, your wife, and they're like, oh no, I've been dating this girl for like 3 weeks, and I'm like, dude, don't do it. He's like, she's the one, bro. Trust me. And I'm like, no, she's not. And even if she is, like,
you're not the one for her.
Yeah,
we got a registry here. What's her name?
Yeah,
she live over on Meeker Street. Yeah. Oh no, she's got 3 names floating out there right now, son.
He's getting the same one right now back there.
Yeah. So anyway, Randolph, it's always a pleasure having you here, man.
I appreciate it.
You're such an interesting dude, man.
I'm so glad I got to come back, and hopefully, we get to do it again someday, and I've got plenty more stories.
Yeah, there's something coming that we will.
Cool.
Definitely have some podcasting opportunities on our way. So anyway,
cool.
Randolph, once again, thank you so much for coming on, man.
Appreciate it.
I'm Moose Lundstrom.
I'm Josh Finley.
Hey, we'll catch you next time.
Peace.